Here's a quick thought for you. If I picked you up and dropped you into a different city, a different house, a different group chat, a different daily routine with a different bunch of people around you, how long would it take before you started acting like a different version of yourself? It would happen not because you suddenly became a new person, but because your defaults have changed, your environment has changed. And most of us live on autopilot, and most of us do not care to admit it. And autopilot is basically your environment doing the driving for you. Who is around you, what you're exposed to, what's easy, what's tempting, and what you tolerate and what you normalize. So when someone says to me, "But I want to be more disciplined. I want to be more consistent. I want to be more confident. I want to be successful." I'm listening, I am, genuinely. But then I'm thinking, what are you waking up into every day? Who's got access to your attention? What's shaping you without asking permission? Because your environment is either training you or it's draining you. Oh, that's a bad line. I'm going to keep it in. Welcome back to Built Resilient. I am Bart Walsh, your coach and a keynote speaker, and this is an awesome episode if I do say so myself, so please buckle up. But I am hoping that you can do me a favor today before we get into the content. We're seeing some incredible feedback for what we're doing here at Built Resilient, and we would love to see this momentum build, and honestly, I need your help to do so. The best thing you can do to help is to simply take 30 seconds out of your day and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcast. That is it. The 30 seconds it takes for you to do so is like paying it forward to someone else out there to find our content and to help make this world a better place with more positive and constructive content. And look, from our point of view, we promise to keep delivering a message that serves this world and doesn't just distract people from it. So thank you in advance. Now, back to regular programming. Today we are talking about curating your environment for success. Not in a Pinterest sort of way, not in a vision board sort of way, in a performance way, in a leadership way, in a way that makes success so much easier. And look, this topic, it landed for me properly when Jane, my wife, and we moved to the Sunshine Coast in Queensland 6 years ago now. It was a new place, it was a fresh start, and suddenly I realised that we had to rebuild everything socially. We had to find new friends, new colleagues, new jobs, new routines, and look, it was confronting. Because when you're new somewhere, you see the social stuff just so much more clearly, especially when you're 30 years old. You notice the difference between people who talk about the life they want to live and people who are quietly building it behind the scenes. You truly begin to understand that behavior is a stronger language than words. And I vividly remember having this very honest realization that if I wanted to live my dream life, I couldn't just hope I'd end up around the right people. That wasn't going to happen by accident. Your environment doesn't arrive like a delivery. You have to build it, just like your resilience. You have to build it, or otherwise you inherit it. It gets given to you. So Jane and I had a conversation. We decided that we wanted to be a bit strategic, but not in a fake way, not in a transactional way, not in a climbing ladders sort of way, strategic in a values sort of way with the people that we hung out with. We wanted to deeply connect with people who were genuine, who were growth-minded, who were kind, and who were authentic. They didn't have a different agenda. And that decision didn't make our life instantly perfect. It took some time, but it did do something important. It changed our standards. It changed what felt normal. It changed what we tolerated. It changed what we believed was even possible with a place to call home. And team, that's what I want for you too. Because your environment is one of those words that sounds vague until you actually look at what it means in real life. Your environment is people, yes, but it's also the place where you spend your time. It's the inputs you're feeding your beautiful mind. It's the content you consume, the books, the media, the podcasts. It's what's easy in your house, in your phone, and in your schedule. Your environment decides what happens when motivation isn't there. People, places, inputs, and what I like to call friction. These are the 4 pillars of your environment, and that is what we're going to be exploring and focusing on today. And if you've been leaning on inconsistent motivation to carry you through life, this episode will feel like a relief, a breath of fresh air. You're allowed to stop relying on hype and start relying on intentional life setup. Let's start with people, because people are the invisible thermostat of your life. Most of us like to think that relationships are neutral, like they're just there. They're not. The people around you shape your mood, your entire personality in some senses. But more importantly, they shape your standards. If everyone around you normalizes complaining, normalizes gossip, cynicism, blame, playing small, being safe, then growth feels awkward. Like you're the weird one for wanting bigger and better things in your life. With these types of people, you can be ambitious, driven, disciplined, and somehow still find yourself shrinking to fit into the room that they are in, to fit into an unseen standard, an unspoken lower standard. And this isn't because you're weak. It's not necessarily because they're bad. It's because humans adapt. We mirror, we copy, we belong. And if you lead a team at work or even in your home, if you're a parent, you know this already. Culture beats intention. You can put values on a wall, and what gets rewarded and repeated becomes that reality. And the same happens socially. If your circle rewards comfort, growth starts feeling like betrayal. You start second-guessing your goals, you water down your standards, you stop saying what you actually want because you don't want to be judged or you don't want to be too much for them. So here's the practical lens I use that keeps things human. Instead of asking, do I like them? Do I like these people? I want you to ask, how do I feel after I've spent time with them? Not during, but after. Do you feel clearer or cloudy? Do you feel energized or flat, capable or doubtful? That after effect, that after feeling, it's information. Treat it like data. And here's the part that helps you do this without becoming cold. Not everyone needs to be cut off. In fact, this whole trend of cutting people out of your life, cancelling them from your life, I think it's a bit silly, in my opinion. Most of the time, managing the people around you is simply about access. Not everyone in your life gets the same access to your time, your energy, or your attention. You can still care about someone and decide they don't get front row seats in your life. You can still be kind and also be selective. And team, it's not arrogance. That's maturity. If you want a small shift you can do immediately, try upgrading the default conversation with your friends. Some friendships stay shallow because shallow is easy, it's comfortable. So next time you're with someone, steer it half a step deeper. Ask what they're working on. Ask what they're proud of this year. Ask what they're trying to get better at, what they're trying to build. Now, you don't need to become their life coach here, and you don't need to start a podcast because of it. Who would start a podcast? All you're doing is giving the conversation a new direction. Growth-minded people tend to lean in. The others drift back to the usual, to the small talk. Either way, you learn something because you asked the question. People aside, let's talk about places, because your physical surroundings are giving you instructions all day long without you even realizing. Some spaces quietly say focus. Others scream at you, scroll on that phone until you die. Some rooms make you feel like snacking is inevitable. Some parts of the house become tension zones. At certain parts of the day, especially if you're a parent, the kitchen at 5 p.m. can feel like a bloody battleground. And even the couch at night can feel like the only safe place you have to collapse in. None of this is character. It's cues. Your brain loves patterns. Remember that. It loves comfort. It's craving it. And that's why willpower is a terrible long-term strategy. If your default environment is always distracting, You'll need heroic amounts of discipline just to not do ordinary things. And you might start telling yourself stories like I'm lazy or I've lost my drive, when really you're just trying to win a battle against an environment that keeps handing you the wrong default cues. So, rather than trying to overhaul your entire life or ripping your home out from the stumps, here is a simplest version of changing this. I want you to create one success corner in your home. One spot that supports the version of you that you are trying to become. It could be a tidy little chair and lamp where you read or wind down. It could be a small desk space where you plan your day. It could be the spot where your journal sits open. It could even be the place where your phone charges. Not beside your bed, please, somewhere else. And maybe, off the top of my head, it could even be a pull-up bar that you put up that you actually see every time that you walk past. Great strategy. This one little corner, this one little spot matters because it gives your brain one clear signal. In this space, we do this. We grow. Then make the habits you want less of slightly more annoying. Not impossible, just inconvenient. If you want less late night scrolling, don't negotiate with yourself at 9:47 p.m. when you're cooked, when you're tired. Put your phone on the charger in another room. Take it away. Use a real alarm clock in your room. Log out of all the apps. We've talked about people. We've talked about places. Let's talk about inputs. This is where a lot of high performers quietly lose their edge. Inputs are what you listen to. They are what you watch, they are what you read, they are who you follow, they are what group chats you're a part of, they are what you let your brain do first thing in the morning. Inputs become your inner voice, they shape you. And if your inputs are constant outrage, comparison, clickbait, negativity, trolling, unrealistic bodies and lifestyles, hustle culture that never sleeps, your internal world, it becomes chaos, it becomes noisy. And you might not even notice that it's happening. You just start feeling behind, you start feeling slow, you start feeling anxious, like you're chasing, like your mind is somehow crowded. And when your mind is crowded, team, your leadership, it suffers. Your patience, it drops. Your drive, it goes out the door. Your decisions, they get worse. Your confidence feels shakier because your attention is scattered. And then you end up reacting to life instead of leading it, instead of driving it. So curating your inputs isn't soft, it's a type of mental fitness. Speaking of inputs, in a wave of selfless promotion, this podcast is partially here to provide an input that feeds your growth. It's a message that I wanted to put out into a world that is positive, that will actually help you. And hey, if you're listening at this point, you can thank me later, and I hope that's doing it for you. So team, here is one clean move to help you audit your inputs. I want you to choose the first input of your day. For the first 10 minutes of your day, don't hand your brain straight over to notifications. Do not do it. Give yourself something deliberate, music. It could even be silence, a short walk, making a coffee without your phone in your hand, a quick moment outside, perhaps taking the bins out. It all sounds really small, and if I'm honest, really petty, but it changes the tone of your day. And look, another simple option might be to unfollow anything that makes you feel like you are behind. If something triggers comparison, guilt, or that subtle agitation, that team is not inspiration, that's not influence. They're not influencers then. They're manipulators. It's a tax on your intention, they're stealing it. And group chats matter as well, now that I think about it. If you got chats that are constant negativity, constant gossip, complaining, or drama, that is training your mind. You don't even need to confront anyone. Sometimes the most powerful actions is simply to mute those notifications, leave that group. Put a little fence around your headspace and protect your inputs. So your environment so far, people, places, the inputs, the stuff you feed yourself, and now for the most practical lever in all of these options is friction. Your life follows a path of least resistance. Whatever is the easiest becomes more frequent. If takeaway is easiest, you'll do more of it. If scrolling is easiest, you will do more of it. If skipping training, skipping the gym is the easiest thing for you, you will do more of it. If avoiding hard conversations is easiest, you will avoid it more. So ask yourself 2 simple questions, and team, I want you to be honest here. If you want to make change, be honest with me. What in my life have I made easy? What in my life have I made hard? A lot of high performers make success hard without even noticing. They rely on motivation. They leave the gym gear buried somewhere annoying and hard to get to. They don't plan food when they're busy. They keep snacks visible and sleep invisible. They may even let their phone be the first thing they touch and the last thing they see in their day and perhaps even in their life. And then they want to blame others. They blame others for their own downfalls or their own feelings. So instead, team, I don't want this for you. Instead, I want you to make good habits obvious. Reduce the friction. I want you to have your clothes laid out. I want a water bottle filled. I want food that supports you visible and ready in the morning. I want you to put the book on the pillow that you'll actually read. Dim the lights after dinner. This is what high performers actually do. Not more motivation, just simply better results and reducing friction. Now I want to address the emotional stuff. Typical for Bart on this podcast, because this is where a lot of people can get stuck. The moment that you start curating your environment, the moment that you realize, hey, this Bart guy might actually be onto something and these pillars might actually help me achieve whatever I want to achieve, especially the people pillar, you will feel a tug, you will feel resistance. You might feel guilt, you might feel a fear of judgment like I often do every single day of my life. You might have a fear of what will they think if I've changed? Maybe a fear of what will happen if I end up lonely. Fear of being the person who outgrows everyone else around me. So let's put that on the table. Curating your environment doesn't require you to become harsh. You don't need to be a killer. You don't need to become cutthroat. It doesn't require you to make speeches about boundaries to strangers. You don't need to announce your new standards like a press release to everyone. Most of the time, your environment changes quietly through relentless consistency, a 1% better mentality. You might stop saying yes to everything. You stop giving away your best energy to the loudest demands and the people who don't deserve it. You might stop over-explaining things. You might choose your time with more intention. And yes, people will notice. They will. Some will love it. Some will be a bit confused and think you're a weirdo. Some might even test it, tall poppy syndrome, and get defensive. Some will drift off into the ether. Team, that's normal. But remember what you're trying to do here. You're building capacity. Great leadership, great parents, great people, all of this has a hidden ingredient. It's capacity. We talked about this in the last episode. Great leaders, great people in this world, great parents, great brothers, great employees, great humans. They all have a hidden ingredient, and that ingredient is capacity. Capacity to listen, capacity to care. And when your baseline capacity, your energy is low, you lead in survival mode, you parent in survival mode, you work in survival mode, you rush, you interrupt, you avoid conflict, you micromanage, you react. And when your baseline is strong, on the other hand, when your capacity is strong, you lead with presence. You stay calm under pressure. You hold your standard. You respond instead of reacting. You become someone people can trust because you are capable. That's why curating your environment, it matters. It's not about being precious. It's about building a life that makes your best self more available to others. And if you are worried about losing people, here's the truth that I have learned. You can care about someone and also accept that they're not your everyday influence anymore. Respect and access are different things. When Jane and I moved and had to rebuild socially, we didn't find perfect people overnight. It took a long time. We built that circle slowly, we built it deliberately, and we built it with our values. And that's what happens when you do this. You build it. You do it on purpose. You find people who feel like oxygen, people who make you feel normal. They make you feel like you. All right, team, that's it for today. Curating your environment for success is really about one thing. And it's about making the right choices easier to repeat in your people, in your places, in your inputs, and in your habits. And team, just a reminder here to start small. You don't need to change your whole life this week. You have time. Just start noticing what your environment is training you to do. And then make one small adjustment that tilts the defaults into your favor. Team, I am Bart Walsh. This is Built Resilient, and sincerely thank you for listening to this show today. As I become older, wiser, not grayer yet, but I'm sure it's coming soon, I realize just how important our environment is and how important it is to curate the energy we give to certain people, certain places, and certain inputs in this world. Team, if you haven't already subscribed to the show, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're on Apple or Spotify, hit the follow button. Make sure you're up to date with all the episodes that drop 6 a.m. Monday morning, Brisbane time, every single week. And do me a favor, 5-star rating, 5-star review on Apple Podcast, on Spotify would be a wonderful gift for this keynote speaker. Team, I'll see you in the next one. Remember to choose resilience. Bye.